Here's a step-by-step guide on how to upload your original music to Spotify. Let's dive in. So unlike other platforms like SoundCloud, YouTube, and Bandcamp, you have to use something called a music distributor in order to get your music on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, anything that's monetizing your content. And basically what a music distributor does is they take your content and deliver it to different DSPs like Amazon, Apple Music, Spotify, you name it. And when your song is streamed on one of those platforms, you get paid a royalty that's sent to your distributor directly. But enough talking, let's dive in. So the first you want to make sure you're doing is you want to sign up with a music distributor. We're going to use Distrokid for today's example. Distrokid is a very easy platform to use. They offer a one-time yearly fee that you can pay once and you can upload as much music as you want, which is a great way for any artist that plans to put out a good amount of songs in the year. There are other options when it comes to distributors. Distrokid, TuneCore, Amuse, Lander offers it as well as a CD Baby. So there's a bunch of different distributors out there, but definitely do your research and make sure you're picking the right distributor for your needs. And if this is your first time uploading music, your page is not going to look like this. I've had a bunch of releases with Distrokid so far, but we're going to be focusing on the upload section right here. So what you want to do is click on your profile, click upload, and then click upload music. This will take us to the main page we want to focus on today. And I actually have a song we can use as an example today. The first thing we want to check is the different services that are going to upload our content to their platform. So as you can see, a lot of the mainstream services are here. We have Spotify, TikTok, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon, all the big ones are here, but there are also some beta features. So what Distrokid likes doing is that whenever there are different platforms that come up, they sometimes offer a beta version. I know Snapchat was definitely in for a little bit of time. You can see it's actually now out of beta, but they do ask you own 100% of the publishing, meaning, hey, if you have a song and you are buying it off of a beat marketplace like BeatStars or Airbit, technically you wouldn't be owning 100% of the publishing. Percentage of that would be owned by the producers. So just making sure that you know exactly who owns a song is really key before you start uploading your original music. TikTok commercial music is actually completely different. It's definitely interesting to see how that's been added. We're actually going to select that because I haven't actually had been added to it before. Might as well do it. Next one is Roblox. This one is actually interesting. For those that don't know, Roblox does not pay any sort of performing rights to you, meaning that when your songs are played in the platform, you're not getting paid a royalty versus all these other platforms where you're paid twice, essentially. You're paid for one of the mechanical royalties whenever your song is streamed, and as well as a performance royalty since it's being streamed as well. So there's two different royalties for streaming. There's mechanicals as well as the performance royalties. We're going to leave Roblox unchecked for now. The number of songs we're going to be uploading, for most people, this is going to be a single. So we're going to be doing one song, which is a single. You can upload as many songs as you want, up to 35 at a time. It's best to just upload one at a time, do singles. If you are interested in doing something called a waterfall release, I'll have another video of that as well. That's a great way to slow down the release of a EP or an album just to maximize the amount of time songs have a chance of getting playlisted. Next thing we want to do is, has this single been previously released? We're going to select no because we have not put this song out. Only reason why you would put yes is, for example, if you did some sort of waterfall release where track 1 came out and then track 1 and 2 came out in a separate EP, this is when you would put yes and you would want to put the original release date just so it's all connected. There's going to be a later section down below where we can enter in the ISRC code, which is something I'll talk about in a little bit. Hopefully this isn't too confusing. So like I mentioned, we're going to put no for this section. I've actually already signed into my account and I have an artist project already done, so we're not going to change this, but this is where you would enter in your artist name and just making sure that if you are starting your first project and first artist name, make sure that it's not claimed on Spotify already and make sure that you're using the exact same URI code, which is basically Spotify's way of matching your song to the specific profile. For example, if there was like 50 people that were named Post Malone, it will just make sure that you are the correct Post Malone for this track. So once you've selected your artist name, you just want to scroll down and this is where Spotify will come up, artists already in Spotify. This is just making sure like, hey, are all my Spotify releases going to be linked to that one artist account? Yes, we are good. Great. Same thing with Apple Music is asking the exact same thing, and same thing with YouTube Music. It's just making sure that everything is going to get paired together. They actually do offer more platforms now, Instagram as well as Facebook. So this is just making sure like, hey, if someone wants to play your song on Instagram and puts it in a story, it's going to be linked to your actual profile and linked so it's all together in one spot, which makes it a lot easier for promotion. Next thing that's most important is you want to check the release date. For anyone that's curious, if you are applying for any Spotify playlisting, they do recommend at least 1 to 2 weeks in advance to make sure your song has a high chance of getting picked. In general, for this side project that I have, I don't really care when the songs come out. Given that 2-week period, might as well give it the best chance of having success. We're going to pick January 22nd, 2025. Happy New Year's, guys. I'm going to keep going. Our release time is going to be Spotify only. This basically picks like when the song is going to come out. For most people, you just want to put midnight. And then for time synchronization, this is really important. I would recommend just putting New York at midnight because New York, for at least on my part, they're 3 hours ahead. I'm on the West Coast. They're 3 hours ahead of us. So that just makes it easier because that way on Thursday at 9 p.m., your song technically comes out and you can make an announcement and it's a lot easier to do a little bit more of the promo because you can schedule those posts ahead of time and you'll still have the link available when the song quote unquote goes live the next day. I always put this, just makes it easier for promotion, getting everything synced together. Next thing you want to look at is pre-order. You can if you want, if you have an album that you want people to pre-order, it doesn't really matter. I don't really know if it's worth triggering and leaving on unless you have a big project, but it can't hurt to help. For some people that are putting out a bigger EP or an album, definitely put this and have some sort of pre-order release date. I would give it at least a couple weeks, maybe a month in advance, just so people can check it out. But this only does apply to iTunes and Amazon. Most people aren't buying music music nowadays anyways. A lot of people are just streaming, so it's still a good option because it's on a separate platform. Next, you want to put the record label. You could put anything you want in here. This could be my best song, anything you want. I personally just leave the artist name here because I just want to keep it simple and basic. That way, at the bottom of the header, whenever you are uploading to Spotify, it's going to have that record label listed as a copyright symbol. So I would just make sure you're a little consistent if you can, just to make sure everything is well-rounded. Next, language. This song is in English. Technically, it's an instrumental and there's no way you can put that. So we're just going to leave English for now. But if your song is in a different language, make sure you are putting this on. And it makes it easier for stewarding once the song goes live to those platforms. Next, we want to pick the primary genre. So for this song in particular, it's definitely a hip hop instrumental track. Second genre is something you can put as well. I would just put, honestly, singer-songwriter. A lot of this doesn't truly matter. They only use it for tagging as well as for these store recommendations. For example, if you were to look up hip hop songs, it would pop up in that category. It's technically a lo-fi hip hop track, but they don't really give you a ton of control on where you're labeling things. Just try to keep it pretty general, pretty basic is the best way to get it done. And one of the first things we actually need from you guys is your album cover. So whenever you upload music to Spotify, you have to have some sort of album cover associated with every release. It can be a very simple white square if you want it. I personally use Canva for a lot of the album artworks I have for this project because one, it's very easy to replicate, and two, I can just pull an image from Pexels, which is like a copyright-free image database, pull that image in, apply some color correction, add some text on top, and I'm done. And I have an album artwork I can use. So there's recommendations here to maybe look for if you can, just to make sure that your album artwork will scale with the correct platform. Sometimes if the file is too small, it's going to sound and look degraded, and it's not going to look great on other platforms. So just making sure that you give them exactly the format that they want is really important. 90% of the time, artworks always get approved. I've rarely seen them not get approved. It just depends on what content's on there. Sometimes people put their socials on there for some reason. Don't do that. It doesn't look good. It kind of ruins the artwork. So just keep it very simple. Just the artist name, song name on it. I'm actually going to select and upload the artwork I have done right here in a second. So here's the artwork I made. Very easy in Canva. It took, I think, 5 minutes to make. Basically just got the background, added some color correction, found this text preset on Canva, and then the Wabi Sabi is the artist name. That's like a logo that I had done on Fiverr, I think 4 or 5 years ago at this point, but they have a transparent version, so I could just drag it in and leave it there on that exact same spot. So all the album artwork will have that there. And now we want to work on the title. So the title is the most important part. You want to make sure that you are paying attention to all the naming conventions that are on here. The song is called Here We Go. This is where you wouldn't include any featured artists. We're going to talk about that in a second. If it's a cover song, don't include the original artist. That also makes sense. We don't want to see like song originally done by. We don't want to put that. We just kind of keep it very simple. Here we go. No user dates. Don't exactly know why they put that in there. It doesn't really make a ton of sense. You can have alternate versions. So this would be a great time to mention it. For anyone that you've seen on TikTok that has like a slowed down or sped up version, you can edit that info into this other section. So for example, this would be sped up. Here we go. Sped up mix, or slowed down and reverbed mix, right? You can put that there and it's going to show up as a separate thing. If you do put out songs like that, just make sure that they're a separate release. So they're not always going to be with the same codes and information as the original. Add featured artists. For example, if you do a lot of hip hop, a lot of EDM, and there's a singer or another rapper on the song, this is where you would list them in. For example, we'll say John Joe, right, is going to be the featured artist, where you can see down below, this is where the song title would look like. It's going to have Wabi Sabi, which is the main artist, and then John Joe, which is the featured artist, listed there. You can add as many featured artists as you want. It doesn't really matter. If, for example, you do EDM and you're releasing a remix EP for your song, you can put, let's just do John Joe again, a remixer. So it'd be like, here we go, the John Joe remix. Great. So just make sure that you can tag those other featured artists. When you do publish a song, they do give you the option to then link that remixer artist with that song. So rather than it being just on your profile and not on their profile, you can actually link with the Spotify URI so that it's showing up on their profile as well. If, put out an EP, a remix EP, and the songs weren't getting registered, this is the easiest way to fix it. It takes like 3 or 5 minutes for a track. Very easy to set up. So just make sure you're keeping that in mind. For this song in particular, we don't have any featured artists and we don't have any other versions. So this is going to be the normal version. Radio edit. That's if you had like 7-minute house song originally and you want to cut down to make a 3-minute version. This would be the quote unquote radio edit, or the clean version is another way to put it. Radio edits in general are fully clean and can be used for terrestrial radio distribution, which is really important. Next, we want to upload the audio file, WAV, MP3, M4A, FLAC, AIF, WMA. I have actually never heard of WMA. For most people, they're going to be either uploading a WAV file or a AIF. Those are the main 2 uncompressed versions of audio that they can use. Do not use an MP3. If you don't have access to the WAV file, contact the producer or just try to re-export it in your session. You don't want to be uploading a already compressed file, because what streaming does is they take that file and they compress it even more to make it easier for the listener. Give them an uncompressed file. That way, when it does that initial conversion, it's going to sound a lot cleaner and not distorted and not muddied, which is bad. We're going to upload the file here. I'm going to click off for a second. And here we have the file uploaded. It's called Here We Go Master. Just make sure that I'm picking the right version. If, for example, I do mastering in a separate session, I just want to make sure that I'm labeling the files correctly so I don't accidentally pick the unmastered version. And like I mentioned before, we already have an ISRC code. So what this basically means is, hey, I have this song already released. I just want to make sure that the streams on Spotify are now reflecting on this song as well. So what that that means is that if you uploaded My Song 1, right, and then you uploaded another song with it in a mini EP, My Song 1, My Song 2, My Song 3, in order to keep those streams from My Song 1, you have to reuse the same ISRC code. We can click on it right here, and this is where you would enter it in. That's why you really want to focus on that and make sure that you're keeping some sort of database in check, because if you don't use the correct one, these streams are not going to match up, and you're going to lead to issues where you have two versions of the same song that are collecting royalties, but they're not tracking the same streams. Some people care about stream counts, some people don't. It just makes your profile look a lot cleaner, and it's easier for collection processing when you do have the exact same codes everywhere. Next thing you want to focus on is the spatial audio and the Dolby Atmos. If you have money for it, great. Awesome. I don't really have a lot of need for putting this on, so I put no. You can add an Atmos version, and you do need to pay money for that to happen. So just keep in mind, you're basically paying to upload a cool different version, which could be cool. I don't really know a lot of people doing Dolby Atmos, at least on the independent level, because there's just not a lot of budget for it. It's a very niche thing. You have to have a Dolby system to really hear the differences. So I put no for this. I don't really spend a lot of time on that. Next, we want to look at the Songwriter and cover. I wrote the song where I manage a song. It's a original song. So this is what most people are going to put. If you do a cover, this is where you're going to put the cover. Keep in mind that when you are doing a cover, you have to pay a cover license to the Harry Fox organization. Distrokid makes this very easy for you because you just have to put in the original information and you're good to go. That's solely for a cover. This does not mean you could take a song, sample it, and be like, oh, I technically did a cover of this song. No, can't do that. Covers means you're doing a fully different recording of that original song-written piece. For this one, we're going to be the original songwriter. Songwriter real names. It's really important that you put your full real name. I'm not going to put my middle name, but we're going to put my first and last name, which is going to be Michael AZUMA. We can check here, music and lyrics. If, for example, I'm just the producer, I would put the music. If I'm just the lyricist, I'd put the lyrics. This part does not really matter, but just be very, very transparent if you are working with other people and making sure that they're tagged correctly, because some people care. You want to make sure you're not stepping on their toes, which is important. So you can add as many songwriters as you want right here. Explicit lyrics? No, it's an instrumental track. If you do have explicit lyrics, put it. It'll mark it on streaming, but please do that, because if you don't, then sometimes if the songs will get edited after the fact anyways. This is a radio edit. No, the song is clean as always been. Yes, so that's kind of what I was referring to above. Like, hey, this song has an explicit version, but this is the radio clean edit that we can use. Instrumental. Yes, this is instrumental, contains no lyrics. Preview, clip, start time. So this is one of the biggest things to pay attention to if you are an independent artist that is planning to do some sort of social media campaign or just post videos on TikTok. You have to make sure you're setting this. This is the start time whenever you select your song on TikTok commercial library, Apple Music preview for downloading the song, iTunes preview for, downloading the song. This gives you like the short 30-second clip of that version. For TikTok, it goes from 30 seconds, I think, to a minute, but you just want to make sure that you're identifying which part you want to care about. It's really important to spend that time and click, let me specify where the good part starts. This is where you put it in. I personally don't care for this track because this track is used for something completely different that isn't going to be used for a lot of TikTok promotion. So this is where I'd leave it blank, but definitely spend the time, open up the file in iTunes or whatever you use for audio, and make sure that you're clicking the exact same start time you want. Next, we go to track price. I never change this. You can just leave it at $1. It doesn't really matter. Up to you. Most people are not buying music nowadays anyways. I would just leave it at $1. So this is something new that they actually added. Apple Music requires at least one performer and producer credit for each song. So that's actually interesting. They're doing what they want to do. So this is where you would enter in the performance. So what we're going to do for that is we're just going to find sampled artist, and then we're just going to put my name there, and then producer, we're going to say producer. Performer would be, say for example, like we had a vocalist on it, you would just put vocal accompaniment, or I think there's male and female vocal somewhere on here. But the reason why they do that is to actually have a better crediting system on their platform. So it's easier for people to identify like, hey, I really like this one songwriter. I really like this one, brass player. It just makes it easier to find those people because it's all tagged per track. So to skip this step for now, deselect Apple Music. Okay, I wouldn't do that. I would just put something in here. You don't want to be removing your music from platforms if you don't have to. This is the extras part. So every distributor offers these extras as kind of add-ons to potentially get more money from you for songs. We're just going to go through them real quick. I don't really recommend you select any of these because you have to imagine you're paying per song, per year, per extra. So it's not like a one-time fee, except the Leave Legacy, which we'll talk about. Instead of paying, $20 a year for a basic Distrokid account, you'd be paying $25 plus how many other songs are on this social media pack. So that's just something to keep in mind. It gets expensive. So make sure you're not selecting these unless you really are, aware of what you're spending your money on, because you can't opt out of the extras once you've signed up, unfortunately. So first one is social media pack. This is basically just content ID for you. It could be useful if you are not releasing your music for any sort of sync licensing and you're fully doing just independent pushing. thing. This is great. This is to make sure that, hey, like if someone uses your song on an Instagram ad or uses it in like a YouTube video, you can claim it and get royalties for that. Up to you. You know, you're basically keeping 80% of your platform's ad revenue, and then you're paying $5 per year per track. Just something to consider. If you think you're going to make more than that in a year, it could be worth it for you. Discovery pack. This is just giving your song to another database. So song recognition, basically giving it to Grace Note. SoundScan, this is what you can do automatically by yourself. Jaxsta, you could do that yourself as well. And then ARC Cloud. So all these platforms, you could sign up individually. They're just making it easier for you to do, because rather than having to register with these 4 platforms separately, Distrokid will just send it automatically and it'll be registered there. So I wouldn't recommend. You're paying $1 a year per track. Store Maximizer. This is the dumbest one. Don't ever select this. This basically will deliver your songs to new stores when they become available. Like I mentioned earlier in the video with the beta versions of different stores. New stores and new streaming services pop up all the time, but you're paying $8 a year per song to do that. You don't have to. Well, I'll go into another video about talking about this, but most of these extras you can do for free by yourself. So one of the cool things that's important and something to consider is Leave a Legacy. So Leave a Legacy is $29 a one-time fee. This basically allows you to continue making sure that your songs will stay on those platforms, even if you delete and cancel your yearly subscription for Distrokid. This could be beneficial for a lot of people. You know, if you're just putting out 1 or 2 songs a year and you're like, hey, I don't really know if I want to do music anymore, but I want to keep those songs somewhere, I would just do this, cancel your main account. That way you still have the song somewhere available and you're still accruing some royalties, but you're not having to worry about that yearly fee that builds up. I personally pay for a label account, and the label account is like $160 a year. If for whatever reason I wanted to leave the platform, I would really be nitpicky on which songs I want to leave that are generating money, and then cancel the account and then move on. For most people, this would be really important. I recommend you click it, and something to look into if you can. Second to last one is music video distribution. You can get video distribution. Great. If you do music videos and content like that, this could be great. Not a lot of people are doing music videos nowadays, so I don't really know if it's worth it, but video content is getting really big. I know Spotify, for example, is really pushing video content, and we could definitely see music videos coming at some point. You're paying $99 a year for just access to this. This is a separate thing. It's a build annually, but you're not billing per song. It's going to be just for your account. So just something to consider. Loudness optimization, don't do this. Don't do this. You're paying $3 to basically remaster your song that you should hopefully have gotten mastered already. Don't do this. Please do not do this. There's no reason for it. You're paying money to do your job again poorly, which is not gonna be good. So at the very end, you're gonna see the important checkboxes. Select YouTube music, good. Basically with YouTube music, they upload your music to a separate pseudo artist channel. You're still getting paid royalties for that, so don't worry. This one, non-standardized capitalization. Basically what happens is like Apple Music will reformat the song. So for example, you can see like Here We Go is all lowercase. They would just take each of the words and uppercase them so it looks cleaner. We'll use promo services that guarantee streaming of bots. So that's just something to consider when you are paying for like a Fiverr playlisting service, or you're paying for some sort of organic or real streaming service. You run the risk of the song getting removed. So just something to consider when you are opting for services. Snapchat, we like I mentioned before, recording the music and I make it. I'm not using any of the artist's name. This is basically to make sure that you're not gonna upload another person's song and just claim it's yours. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's going to get flagged and removed immediately. This all looks good. This gives you a preview and sees everything we need to see. Let's press continue, and it's uploading. After the song has been uploaded, you'll be in a middle phase where they're delivering to the different platforms. It usually takes 1 to 2 days to then see the song fully processed, and then they'll give you access to your ISRC as well as your UPC code. Those are 2 different numbers you're going to need for every song. The UPC is like a barcode when you are using scanner, and the ISRC is the code used to track that specific sound recording, as well as used for stream counts on Spotify, Apple Music, and stuff like that. We're going to see here Mixia. This is stupid. Using my originals. I'm not paying extra for something I don't need. You press continue, and then we're good. We're good to go. This gives us all the other information. This is where you can add the lyrics if you want. Distrokid, you are able to add time-based lyrics. So rather than having to just list all the lyrics at once, you can add the lyrics line by line. It does take a little bit of time. You have to listen to the song, but you can do it for free. Distrokid, add credits and liner notes. That's where you would enter in any sort of other production credits, any sort of songwriting credits. I would do it if you can. Give people the credit that they deserve and make sure that it's available for people to chime in and check out. It takes like 2 minutes max per track. Give credit where credit is due. That's basically how you upload music to Spotify. We can go back to the music dashboard to see that song is pending. It's going to be a yellow dot here. Once that yellow dot is green, it'll give us access to the 2 codes that I mentioned before. But if you guys have any questions about Spotify or how to upload music for the first time, please write a comment down below. I'm more than happy to help, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.